Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast. I am, as always, your host who can definitely speak words. Don't worry about it. Bodio Papula. With me, I have, with ants in or outside of her pants, Kaylie Horowitz.
Ants.
And with a big gulp with what that looks like a beaver on it, Andy Gibson.
It's Buc-ee's. He's the greatest gas station mascot that's ever existed.
I feel like that's
Buc-ee's.
I feel like that's a very small list of candidates.
Yeah, the hobo from the Stop and Go or whatever that's called can suck it.
The Chevron cars are too creepy at this point.
They're terrifying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get the hell out of here. Who do you think you are?
I think they think they're cars.
Life is a highway.
Nobody is half as cool as the Buc-ee's beaver. You know why?
Why?
Because he represents the greatest gas station, convenience store, meat market, tourist shop, and bathroom emporium that's ever existed.
Okay, but you know that Buc-ee's is only winning because the most powerful chain kind of has to have a hand tied behind its back in all of this, right? Because they would want to do something attention grabbing as a mascot, but are skeptical at best what would happen because of the internet.
Right.
Is Come and Go.
I don't want to dignify that with a response.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna hard pass.
Wow, this might be the
that
quickest we've ever gotten to the topic. Thanks, Kaylie.
Come and Go.
I don't even want to ask how your week is now, so thanks for that.
No,
Cool.
I've been
Great.
thinking about Come and Go because on TikTok.
Have you?
No, this guy.
The asexual can't stop thinking about Come and Go.
No.
Yeah,
I
a
can't.
guy made you keep thinking about Come and Go. Good for
this
him,
guy
honestly.
achieved one of the dreams of if you've ever worked in retail, there's that idea of you recognize how little power you actually have and people think you have so much more power.
Yeah.
And this man's just made a big old cardboard those life-size cutout posters in gas stations of people this product, whatever. Yeah. My dude's prints out this fucking picture of himself shredding a guitar. There's a desert road background behind him.
Uh-huh.
And just prints this poster saying, "Try the Kyle Sheely meal," and just leaves it in a Come and Go.
Oh.
And people start spamming his DMs going, "We went to take a picture with the poster. We went," until the official all the brands on TikTok, whoever's running these social media accounts, these are my favorite people, Come and Go responds going, "Okay, but actually though," and now this man's has an actual Kyle Sheely mealy coming out that features a pizza sandwich thing. Red Bull also wanted in on this, so the meal comes with a Red Bull as a drink, and proceeds are being donated to feed children for the holidays.
Oh, but he's not even making $1 out of this. That sucks.
But also it's that what the hell is happening anymore?
All right. It's nice that he's doing it for charity. But
yeah.
Of all the things that I wanted to be when I grew up, the representative for a pizza sandwich and a Red Bull combo at a place that evokes darker and more lusty thoughts through its name alone. This is not one of the dreams that I harbored as a child. I want to be an astronaut. Okay, great. I want to be the face of Come and Go. Son, we're sending you to therapy.
It's the American dream right there. That's what it is.
Let's take how about we take advice from the second half of that brand name and go away from this terrible thought right here. Please tell me what the topic is.
We're revisiting a topic style that we did earlier in the pod. Ew, I just said the pod. Gross.
The pod.
Gross.
No, disgusted
whale
by
pod.
myself.
That makes us pod people.
Pod
Stop.
people,
Ew.
Pod people.
Stop being excited for this. So we attacked Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84.
We didn't attack them, did we? I don't remember beating anybody up.
I mean, I verbally lambasted 84 a couple of times and did some goofy sound effects to it when I was talking about it. But it was more of comparing and contrasting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, compare and contrast attack. We did that with Wonder Woman 1 Rim 84. We were like, oh shit, so we opened up the superhero can of worms. So we have to do Marvel shit. So, yeah, we know we have to. It gets the clicks.
Yeah, baby.
You say that with such lack of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We are living in a world that we never imagined as kids, where there is such a plethora of nerdy media based on the properties that we got wedgied for back in the day, that you could dedicate entire podcasts to Marvel alone.
Which we're not going
gonna
to do.
that.
Nah, not yet.
No, shut up.
No,
We're not doing that.
no.
We're not becoming a Marvel fan cast. We've talked about this.
You can't start this, Kaylie. You can't make us.
We're comparing and contrasting Captain Marvel and Black Widow.
More ladies. We want to talk about more ladies.
But actually, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, and it's pretty important that now we have enough female-driven superhero movies that we can talk about it, which is cool and good, because, you know, for a lot of portion of the time with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Black Widow was kind of a, you know,
Boobs and butt.
Yeah.
I was going to say a secondary character, but sure,
I
reduce
can
it.
be secondary character.
Okay, yeah, she was the only one on the Avengers poster with her butt showing.
And her boobs and her face, breaking her back.
Oh, okay.
Doing a 180 at the trunk.
It's nice to be where we are today,
Yes.
in that they are able to have their own movies and flesh out their characters and fucking pass a Bechdel test or something. That's pretty important, you know?
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Captain Marvel, y'all.
Goose. That is all.
No goose.
I'm the Marvel fan that's like, I came here for the MCU. I don't really
Right.
have a deep comic knowledge. So
Right.
I heard a lot of hubbub and skepticisms. Captain Marvel was one of those characters that kind of had a rocky, like, following. He was literally just a placeholder because DC had a Captain Marvel that would just
Yep.
become Shazam. So Marvel needed a Marvel.
Yeah, much like a lot of the Marvel Silver Age superheroes, they had, like, really spotty past because that's what made them interesting. Like how the first Ant-Man beat his wife.
And Tony Stark was really drunk a lot when he was just like a C-grade character.
But look at him now.
Dead.
The creators of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have a great way of taking everything that's good about a character and kind of leaving a lot of the shittier stuff in the past for it, which is something that I think they accomplish with this movie, in that they were able to essentially introduce a character that was important to the Marvel Universe as a whole, but that casual viewers might not be as familiar with.
Yeah.
They took a lot that was interesting about Carol Danvers, this version of Captain Marvel, and left some of the stuff that's less interesting, like, again, alcoholism. Marvel writers in the 70s, are you okay?
No, it's the 70s.
Good point, you've got me there. But that's not to say that the movie was without controversy, because guess what? Nerds online can be sexist! Who would have ever believed that?
Right.
Brie Larson, the actress for Captain Marvel, had some comments about, you know, sexism in the industry, and the boys were just like, meh, 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 meh. So they threatened to, you know, boycott that movie, review bomb it on places like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and everything, and try to use word of mouth to convince everybody it was absolutely terrible. And then it made $1 billion and $100 million.
Because you can't stop the Disney machine, baby. No. Train keeps on turning.
And also because it was a pretty straightforward and solid movie overall. It's an origin story, but in, kind of an awkward place. It's back in time about 25 years or so from when the rest of the MCU had been around.
Let's talk general takeaways. How did y'all feel about the movie overall?
Like I said, it's solid. Like, these two movies are interesting, and I know that we're not going to talk about the rest of the MCU, but I think it has to be addressed that both of these movies take place in the past in the MCU. So you think to yourself, how can there be stakes if everything else has already happened? Like, when you go back in time 5, 10, 25 years or so to discover things about a character, how can there be drama if, like, we know this person is obviously going to be alive and such? And I think Captain Marvel did a pretty good job of showing this character before she got her powers and everything. It gave her some time to develop and have, as the first Marvel superhero movie with a female lead, to have its own, girl power moment and everything. But it does it differently, in a way that Black Widow does, which I think will be interesting to talk about, when we're comparing them properly.
Kaylie, what do you think?
Oh, baby.
Yeah. Ooh, crack the knuckles. Love to see it.
I got so many thoughts on this.
Bars.
Because when I first saw this, like, night of the premiere in theaters kind of thing, I wanted to be excited because I was pretty excited for every Marvel movie. And I would argue that I let a lot of things slide where I know some people have much more strong ties and opinions to their movie-going experience. I am a raccoon. I'm okay eating trash if it is fun trash. So I was like, even if this wasn't the best thing ever, I was willing to be like, yeah, cool. But because it was so hyped and marketed and pushed as this, like, feminist lens powerhouse, I walked out of there going, no, it was a good movie. And I was also, like, riding the highs and lows of, like, just having watched Infinity War a couple months ago and, like, crying a little bit, being like, oh, it's Fury. Oh, not like, and feelings about this kind of stuff. And then seeing,
Stan Lee had just died. So
oh my God. First time watching a Marvel movie for me is always a, like, oh, this thing and that. Oh, and that, like, putting all the red strings together first. So I let a lot more things slide because I can tell I'm excited, but something still didn't sit right with me about it.
Oh yeah.
And then I watched it again. We've been doing a Marvel Timeline in Order rewatch end of summer.
You and your partner.
Watch Captain Marvel first because timeline order. And I'm still sitting here, like, really trying to be like, and let's look at this feminist, like, critical lens. Mm-hmm. Still didn't like it. Still didn't like it looking at that. And then I watched it once more for this episode and I went, it's because it's not only a feminist movie. People kept trying to be, it is just woman power. It's intersectional.
Go into that. What do you mean?
It's feminist, but it is so much more about identity. Mm-hmm. And identity as a woman, but also identity as a refugee. Identity as someone who doesn't know where you come from or how to live with your past.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of, like, nice moments of, like, girl power. But those moments feel so much more like frosting on top of the cake that it's just there for the people that really aren't looking at the critical lens and the critical reading of some of these texts. And I kind of have to as a theater scholar and academic. So just sort of stepping back and letting that just be the dressing, letting that be the sort of final pieces on top. The core of this movie sits so much more in, like, found discovery of identity, reclaiming of self, what do you keep and what do you leave behind, which intersects with a lot of areas of feminism, and especially of like a reclaiming of space in a masculine dominated world.
Yeah.
So like those moments, like it's not that they don't exist. It's just that that movie is not made by the feminist point of view alone.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first time watching, I was so much more invested in the Skrull situation than I was her for some moments. Like
I would also argue that your point of the movie being about identity and like finding yourself and whatever is not only executed a lot better, because, you know, as much as like the feminine, there's a lot of, yeah, girl power, men are jerks, like really ham-fisted
you know why they call it a cockpit
stuff.
like
Yeah, you should smile more, steals motorcycle, right. And
like,
what are you doing? You shouldn't be here.
It was never a problem of like, because people use the argument like, oh, well, if you don't like the movie, like, how would you feel like watching Tony Stark do the same things that Carol does? It's like, no,
actually,
that's not my problem with it. Like, I don't mind her dryness because she is so like, and there's a couple different readings that, like, for a different time I could go into of like why she is so focused on this mission. But, like, I don't mind her attitude there. I mind that they focus so much on this, like, control your emotions.
Yeah.
When, one, she is emotionally driven. But, like, she is not emotionally outbursting.
Yeah.
Unless there's a moment of severe, like, emotional trauma or emotional reaction. But, like, they make Jude Law play those lines like she is woman feeling emotions over emotional, and she's not.
She's never really that character.
And that's what I kind of got stuck on originally. Like, why are they doing, like, why are they making such a big deal about this? Like, she's not even doing that acting.
She's a girl, she's gotta be over emotional.
But that's not the point.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the like girl power feminine stuff is like, there is no subtlety to it.
No.
Like, a lot of the Marvel movies in general have a hard time with that. Like, the message they wanna like advertise isn't subtle. Meanwhile, the other message is done fairly well. I think this movie is fine, by the way. I think it's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, it is okay. It's a movie that exists.
This was in their kind of transitional phase of exactly like trying to like, how do we make sure we're not just making comic book movies for dudes and making the women conventionally appealing and attractive? But like, correct me if I'm wrong. There were like 2-3 directors, 4 writers on Captain Marvel. Like, it was a big team of shared directorship and shared writership that you can tell there are pieces here that like cohere to each other nicely. And again, some of those moments of like, we need explicit feminism because people want, like, they want that line.
When
they want
we get
the trailer.
to say shit? We get to say shit 3 times. Where do we put it in the movie?
They want the lines they can put in the trailer that are like the girls. Yeah, we don't take shit from boys. Like,
which is funny because there's have y'all ever seen The Boys on Amazon Prime?
I have not.
No.
So
but I've wanted to.
It's a dark satire of essentially like what the MCU has become and a lot of other just superhero driven media. And they make fun of like how unsubtle Marvel has been about like trying to throw on a coat of like feminist paint, but it being a very thin layer and not sticking very well when inside of it, in their own version of the Avengers, who make their own movies about themselves, like there's a really obnoxious scene where it's just girls get it done, like 3 superhero women walking next to each other in slow motion with that like up on the screen and everything, and all 3 of them after recording it are just like, oh god, this is awful, this is stupid. But then in like the season finale, when it's 2 of the heroines like stomping out another like evil supervillain woman, just like kicking the absolute shit out of her, there's just one guy on the side who's just like, oh, girls do get it done. And everybody's just like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up right now.
Not to not to drag in movies that aren't in this conversation, but like in watching Retimeline Order, in Infinity War, there is a moment of fighting where Okoye, where it's her and Black Widow fighting girl that looks like she's from WoW, that's one of Thanos' lackeys. Scarlet Witch comes in and it's the three of them like kicking ass together, and someone gets knocked down and she pulls her back up. And there's this really, it's the girls fighting, and it's that like, girls fight the other mean girl. But it's that like, there is a feminism in here. There is that interwoman, like, I got you. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. Versus in Endgame, where they make such a big show, like that girls got this thing of like, and now all the girls are gonna take the gauntlet.
Girls, 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 girls. Girls, girls. Peter Parker's just on the ground, and then he's surrounded by like Okoye and Mantis and Nebula, and his internal monologue just must be, I don't know any of you. Who are you people?
Bad reputation bumping in the background.
Shut up, Spider-Man. We're doing shit right now. We're posing for the camera. It's exactly like the lack of subtlety that The Boys makes fun of.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Girls do get it done.
It's a cool moment, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool to watch. But as a like, do I want this to be the feminist talking point of the MCU? No, because there's no point for this to exist other than you wanted an all-girls shot because you've realized 10 years too late that you've never wanted to account for women.
Bringing it back to Captain Marvel, I think they kind of do that same thing with everything. Like, it was very nice, the initial show don't tell with, hey, it's the 90s, right? Yeah. She crashes through a Blockbuster, and then she's, like, surrounded by VHS tapes. And then they really ram your face in it. Look, arcades! Hey, look, salt and pepper! Listen to the music, it's the fucking 90s!
Yeah. There's some moments that are like, yes, this is good. Like, where do I get communications equipment? And it's just the pointing to the Radio Shack.
Same thing with Nick Fury. It's like, hey, it's a younger, cooler Nick Fury, and he's kind of goofy. Now he's telling jokes. Watch him interact with his cat. It's like, all right, guys. Like,
I think
chill.
the problem that exists with Captain Marvel is that, like, the depth that was advertised was not there.
No.
There wouldn't be much of a difference if Captain Marvel was a man and they didn't have any of the...
There wouldn't be any difference.
It really wouldn't be any different, because when you look at it, Captain Marvel solves every problem by hitting something.
Yeah.
Like...
It's very satisfying.
Yeah, sure. But, like, it doesn't... if you took away and just did like a quick swap, and I know I'm being really reductive or anything, but if you just took away the sequence of her like getting off of her knees when she's like crashed her bike or her go-kart or anything, if you took that away, there would be almost no indication that like that there was any feminist writing or creativity that went into it. If you took out that one scene and Captain Marvel was a man, she solves her problems like all male superheroes. Just like when every problem looks like a nail, she's gonna hit him like a hammer.
Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing.
It's not bad. We were just sold a different
when you're coming out and saying this is a feminist movie, it's like, no, it's not. It's just a superhero movie.
And every nerd on the internet cries into his waifu pillow just like, oh, it's the feminists, the SJWs are trying to force their way into our dick movies.
Yeah, I wanna expound a little bit on that idea you said, Gibby, where it's like she kind of just punches her way through everything. I think the phrase a lot of people would throw around for that is Mary Sue, which I don't, on top of kind of being an outdated phrase that I don't think really makes sense anymore. I don't think that's accurate because Carol does have flaws, right? That's a big piece of the movie. She has flaws.
She's pissed and she's coming.
Stop. Now I'm angry.
Control your emotions. Control your emotions.
No, fuck off, Jude Law, and your bitch ass contacts.
What emotions, Jude?
There is, I think, in terms of, and this is a grand scheme superhero thing, right? Because I think the Thor movies had this issue. Definitely the second and definitely the third. I think the third Iron Man movies kind of had this issues where it never felt like Captain Marvel, the character, was in peril.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what situation she was in, and she has the Superman syndrome, right? It's like she's gonna explode and like punch somebody from far away when this is over, and that's what she did, right? She always seemed like to have a handle on the situation, even when she was almost a fish out of water. We do a hard cutaway and she's jerry-rigged Wi-Fi into a payphone, right? Like, at no point did I ever watching this movie feel like she doesn't have this, which I don't know if that's a point, but that's kind of a weakness of a lot of superhero movies in general,
that feeling of inevitability.
Right. It's like you're gonna win and you're not in any danger.
Especially when it's a movie that takes place earlier in the timeline.
And I could do this because I'm not a huge Marvel fan. I kind of watched these movies in a bubble. I was able to break away from the whole, like, this happened after this movie and whatever the fuck, right? I just watched this movie, like, isolated as a movie, and it was just like, yeah, she's not in any real danger. She's got this, right?
And there's the idea that, like, even though we recognize, and I think the movie makes us recognize pretty quickly that, like, we don't really have to worry for her physically. We don't have to worry about her mortal peril over the course of this movie. Because the first, like, fight she's in, her hands are fucking tied. Like, it's honestly kind of like the first fight we see Black Widow in Avengers. The first fight she's in, her hands are tied behind her. Like, she does not have 100% capacity, and she still kicks ass.
Wrecks like 40 dudes.
Yeah, no, like, they make it abundantly clear, and she still has time to go back for her boots. Like, they make it abundantly clear where it's like, you don't have to worry for her mortal peril. But they do that with the intention, I think, at least, that there's the intention that we worry then for her emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
Because stepping into timeline, we know she's coming. We know that Fury has paged her, but we don't know what she's gonna look like by the time she arrives to Earth.
Turns out exactly the same.
Hey, there's a new haircut. There's
also the idea that, like, a lot of people, when they talk about Captain Marvel, they're like, oh yeah, she's one of the most overpowered superheroes in this canon.
That's, I don't want to go into that, but that's a general Marvel Comics problem, right? Whenever anybody gets some Deadpool, people kind of like him. Turns out he's immortal, he can teleport, and he's actually fighting Thanos, and he loves Squirrel Girl. People really like her. Turns out she's secretly the strongest motherfucker. Like, that's just a Marvel problem.
If everyone's super, nobody's super.
I'm glad you said that.
The power creep has always existed and will continue to exist. And that's why they have to take away everybody's powers to make them interesting.
Right. But which is always pretty cool. But I do want to talk about the everyone's super, no one's super. Captain Marvel has a bad case of what I call Marvel personality syndrome. Whereas they say, hey, how do we make this character interesting? Well, make them snarky and always tell jokes about everything. Right? And it's like, okay, if you're the 18th main character in this canon in superhero-dom, you're the 50,000th who has this personality. Guess what? It's not a personality anymore. It's just a thing.
They have the personality of, like, that Dreamworks half smile on all of their posters.
Yeah, the little smirk of a shitty 6th grader who just found out what sarcasm and a fedora is.
Hey, leave me out of this. No, I will say, like, yes, I agree that it's that. I was hoping there might be a different kind of exploration in her character, and there is, but the strongest foundation of it is that level of, like, I've had to protect myself and cope using, like, dry humor and
So has everybody
my wits.
else.
Yeah. No, the thing that I'm like, I'd be okay with that personality, and it would be more, I think, could be a better feminist, like, focused movie, is if you make one about fucking Maria Rambeau.
Yeah.
I want a movie about Maria so bad.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but fucking Disney, if you're listening to me, shit or get off the pot. If you're gonna make characters gay, make them fucking gay. Stop joking around with it. It doesn't change shit. Stop being like, haha, they're really close, and she's like, the kid's on, but they're just friends. It's like, suck my ass.
Haha, but China doesn't like it. Haha.
There's actually a lot of fun theories from James Somerton. Go check out his YouTube channel about how it's not just that, like, we're having to appeal to China, it's that we're using China as an excuse because Hollywood doesn't want to change their policies because they just want to keep making money.
Yep.
Let's just all make a compromise and let's just make the Transformers gay. Let's just make the Transformers
The
gay.
fandom would be more than happy.
I've discovered something about myself.
You know that Optimus Prime and Megatron are like ex-lovers and hate each other.
I'm like, we know what happens to Maria Rambeau in the beginning of WandaVision-ish.
Oh, does she die or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but it's her daughter now having grown up, sort of thing, but like she gets snapped and comes back, and her mom passed during the 5 years, and it's really sad and tragic. But it's that, like, all right, you've given an endpoint for this character.
Yeah.
Now can you go back and, like, do a fun, like, mini series? What was the rest of her life like?
They gave Captain America's girlfriend one. She can get one.
Like, Maria was a fucking bamf. And I'm so sad we just got her for, like, the last half of the movie. Not even.
She didn't even do anything. All right. General takeaways from Captain Marvel. Give it a go.
It's fine.
It's fine. Kaylee, go.
It's good. It's just intersectional and about refugees, not entirely just feminism.
I cut you off, Gibby. Finish your thought.
I didn't have anything else to say.
That's good. That's pretty good.
It's fine.
I'm in the same camp. It is fine. Marvel movies are the best movies you will watch one time, and this movie kind of encapsulates that.
Yeah. It's fine.
I do think, however, if this movie had come out 10 to 12 years before it did, we would be talking about how rad it was.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't.
Nope.
It didn't. And that's why the boys can make fun of a lot of Marvel. And then there was a movie that was supposed to come out.
Yeah, and then Disney tried to rip Scarlett Johansson off of her out of her paycheck. I don't feel sympathy for rich folks, but fucking pay the lady. All right.
Fucking pay her.
Also, pay your fucking film crews. Streaming is not experimental anymore.
Pay your fucking film crew.
Pay people. Pay everybody. Pay me.
Pay me specifically.
Pay me too. Money.
Pay the Liberal Artist Pod.
Money.
Money, please.
We support all workers in contracts. Pay people, please. We're all just trying to eat. So Black Widow.
Speaking of communist manifestos.
This is a movie of two parts, I think. And all of it turns out to be pretty okay. It starts off as, I think, one of the more interesting superhero movies because it's kind of like the spy thriller. We have a nice dynamic between Black Widow and her sister, who also has Marvel personality syndrome, but it works because they don't retroactively make Black Widow like a sarcastic dick.
And she's allowed to also, like, add some, like, you know,
levity.
what it means to be, like, also girl without being girl
Yes.
in her Marvel personality syndrome.
And then about an hour in, fucking Rosencrantz and Guildenstern walk in as a fat Russian man with tattoos. And this movie turns into a fucking by the numbers Disney. It's about family movie. And
Okay,
I hate the back half of this movie. I really
You
do.
can't shit on David Harbour.
No,
because
he's funny.
so good.
He's funny and he's a great actor. I'm not taking away all the performances in both of these movies are amazing. Like, let's say that, right?
Oh,
All the acting, cinematography, it's fucking Disney. They know what they're doing. But like, it really bums me out that we had Black Widow's just really bad. Always has been. Outside of just being a sexy for the numbers, has been like this really cool character, the spy, the James Bond of the Avengers. And the front half of this movie really accents that in a positive way. But we get halfway through and we kind of abandon that for we're the original dysfunctional family type deal. And like, it's still sweet. It still knows what it's doing. Like, it's not so much that it takes it off the rails, but it did cut off my enjoyment of it.
Like, I agree. Like, there is that sort of split between, but it's not like a harsh divide.
No,
it's like
no.
Suddenly this roller coaster has been doing like fucking spins down around the corkscrew, but now we're going back up a different hill. How did we get here? Kind of thing.
Yeah, it makes the transition well. I just don't like the transition.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. Like, I think we get to like we have spy thriller James Bond-esque kind of like sisters having to tag team for one last
ride,
hit kind of hit. Like, yeah. But then as soon as they meet up with quote unquote mom and dad, then we turn into the Incredibles, except the daughters, the kids are the most capable ones, and the parents are sort of like, what are we doing here? Oh, right.
Mostly the mom seems to have her shit together.
No, she's capable. She's just sort of like, why the hell do you want to go back there? We got out.
And I think that might be more of the men are all jerks, right? They do the worst, like, haha, it's feminism at the end of this, when the main bad guy, the big balding Russian dude, is like, and I will use the world's most abundant resource, girls. I was like, oh, fuck off.
You should have used mosquitoes, you dumb
Yeah,
bitch.
idiot.
The villain was like, I was with you up until he really just kept talking.
Right.
It was that. It was the pheromones line.
Yes,
that
the
made
pheromones.
Me so
If you smell my pheromones, you cannot touch me. It's like, what?
You know what's kind of funny? Like, this was actually in a stupid way one of the more believable Marvel villains.
Oh, yeah.
Because every time I watched him, I was just like, "You're Steve Bannon. You're just like a shitty guy working for like a shadowy organization, creepy and like." Working from the shadows, but you're also a megalomaniac, so you don't want to be in the shadows because your ego is too great.
Steve
and you
Bannon,
can't
but a
punch
communist?
for shit. Well, not even a commie, just like, you know, KG bullshit, you know,
Right.
like a vague Russian whatever, the
Yeah.
same way that they did Nazis and Hydra and
Yeah.
everything.
Hail him.
Whatever. Anyways, like the whole thing, it's just like, oh, I know you. I've seen you on Fox News a lot.
Yikes.
Yeah.
But no, I think he's comic booky to the point of being corny.
Yeah.
Like he's 60s comic booky. You know what I mean?
But also with domestic abuse.
But also with domestic abuse and kidnapping.
I really did. I think this was a movie that is sort of by the end as just balls to the wall, ridiculous kind of action sequences that we got, to the point where it's not like God, I don't know when all of this camp showed up here, but it's here, and these explosions and the timing are unbelievable, but quite fantastic to watch.
It's fun. It's a fun movie.
It is a good time, and it's that horrible, like, damn it all, why do we get this when a character is canonically dead? Like, that's what pisses me off more than anything, is that, like, this was such a good story. Like, I don't think it's cinematically and structurally the best thing.
No.
But the character growth and development is super strong in this movie. Like, it's such a character-driven story. Once you introduce certain characters, you can no longer hold on to the same kind of world. Like, the sisters exist in this spy world, and then suddenly you bring in the rest of the family, and that world maybe never, like, truly existed in that way, but sort of the, like, your two kids looking at the world like this thing is life or death, and then you're, like... your parents come in and sort of break up the fight and go, what's going on? Like, why is this such a big deal? And you have to look at a bigger picture.
I think Black Widow benefits from not having to introduce us to a new character.
Yes.
As the main protagonist, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're coming in with a protagonist we've known for 10 years at that point. So she can kind of just do her thing, you know?
And we see how everybody else knows Natasha. We see how everybody else is connected to her.
Which makes the other people immediately relatable, right? Because we know the same person. And
we have a different entryway in getting to know who they are by how they react to Natasha. And I love her and Yelena. Like, they've got a good dynamic together.
Stop doing the superhero pose.
I love David Harbour's Red Guardian. He is such a fun character to watch on screen.
Yes, but I don't like him in that movie.
Oh,
because like it
I think that's
fucks up the tone. It fucks up.
For me.
No, he did a great job again, and it's a fun character. But for me, whatever humor needed to be in the movie with the first hour, Elena was providing that, right?
Yeah.
So when you come with this cartoon character, just like breaking dudes' arms in prison, it's like, okay, here's the Marvel bullshit that I knew I was gonna eat.
That's what he is, and it is one of those, like, especially for a spy thriller, because even in some of the original Bond things, there's that layer of camp that comes with the style. There's gonna be that sort of camp that inherently follows a character like this. It just manifests in different ways.
They kind of already had that, though, is I think one of Bo's problems with it, where it's just Yelena was already providing that kind of obnoxious modern Disney self-referential humor and all that, and making fun of, itself and the tropes that the greater property is already committed. So to like pack on another level of like comedy that like veers from the tone itself, it doesn't accomplish anything that really benefits.
Nobody fucking likes Rosencrantz. Nobody fucking likes Guildenstern.
That's why they're dead.
That's why they're dead. Timon and Pumbaa are fucking speed bumps in Lion King. Nobody cares.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, I'm shooting everybody. I'm shooting without looking. Fire from the hip.
Oh, so you're like every trained marksman in this movie. Just like, I don't know how to aim, but here's some bullets in your plane.
She's so evasive.
The prison break was absolutely hysterical. Like, just that idea, like, this is Siberia. And, like, y'all could get away with this?
And a rocket, just causes an avalanche and all that.
Oh my god.
Siberia.
Like, again, that's just like, how did we get to these stakes?
Everything is more metal in Mother Russia.
But spy camp, so we'll allow it.
Gibby looked like you want to say something for a while.
Yes. I think this is the main idea that I've had when I compare and contrast Captain Marvel and Black Widow. When I was saying earlier that with Captain Marvel, outside of that one, montage of like, yeah, you're a girl, you could essentially swap that movie and just swap in a male superhero and it would function essentially the same. I don't think you can do that with Black Widow because there's so much in this movie that comes from the perspective, if not a feminist perspective, but then analyzing things, from like the how to properly say it, like the dehumanization of women, the commoditization of women, essentially stripping them of their agency, stripping them of like they mention the forced hysterectomies.
I was just about to talk about that.
They mention like these crimes against their bodies and everything, all controlled by a man in the shadows who thinks that he should control everything about what he refers to as a resource and everything.
Yep.
You could not have a male Black Widow without that just being like, well, this feels random.
And it didn't pass as hokey. It passed as sincere, given the context of the movie.
It made sense.
There was the thought going into this, especially because Scarlett was signed on as a producer of the film as well, that people were like, all right, we're gonna get like girl power. But like, from what I remember of the advertising, it was more just about like, hey, Black Widow, she's dead, but we get a whole movie about her. Aren't you excited? And they weren't really pushing.
She's a redhead again. And I'm like,
yeah, like they weren't pushing like a thing about it other than it was like spy action, like sort of thing, which you would know going in because it's Black Widow. But no, exactly. And like this did such a better job at being the like feminist touchstone in your canon that you wanted than Captain Marvel could have, because exactly that, like you've created a narrative that if you change this character, like these characters so predominantly at the forefront of this have to be women for this story to make sense and to leave as much of an impact. And especially like the end of it, as she's like setting these women like free really for the first time, like go like that again, it's that sort of like, this is where you get the like the sisterhood, the women supporting women. This is where you get that, not in these overt displays, but literally just in the connection of the fact that this terrible wrong has been done to them and they have put a stop to it and are saying, and now we get to just live.
On that same ticket, I love that since we're so deep into the Marvel bullshit, they have to start like digging really, really deep to get new bad guys. I love the subversion they did of Taskmaster. They did.
Yes.
Instead of just being a dude who's like really good at seeing shit, it's like, no, you almost killed my kid, but that gave me the opportunity to turn her into a fucking monster because I could do that.
Yeah, we also see Taskmaster so much in like Spider-Man shit that it was a like
he's kind of sort of Spider-Man Avengers villain.
I mean, like it's that we see him float around in both. I think more in recent media we've seen it pop up in Spider-Man.
More so Spider-Man. Yeah.
Because Spider-Man, we need villains.
Everybody fucking loves Spider-Man.
Yeah. Me too. But no, like I was not expecting that. And also just these revisits of Natasha's life and sort of getting this better understanding of her character, like and recognizing in the like when they did Avengers, like that scene, the interrogation scene with her and Loki, as he's like alluding to these things, like obviously they weren't set in stone, but then just sort of taking those little pieces, those improvs, those one-liners, and then just sort of running with that in the creation of this backstory of her world, of her time in Budapest with Budapest during this assignment. Budapest, right? Not Budapest. You and I remember Budapest very differently.
Is that just like a verbal tick of hers, or is there a joke there that I'm missing?
I think that's the like local pronunciation.
Yes. Again, not crucial to the movie, but if you've been following this character, they have such a like strong tether into what we know of even the past before this, and then why she's coming back to all of this in the first place, like in that vein of Red in the Ledger, and how do you stop spilling so much blood? How do you end this kind of a cycle?
Yeah.
Wednesday, March 22nd.
Gibby
had an idea.
I just kind of realized something as we were talking about all of this, in that one of the greatest criticisms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole is when it comes to villains, they're usually just kind of like a palette swap of whatever hero they're fighting. Like it's something that the whole cinematic universe has struggled with for a long time. Just like lazy stuff, like Iron Man, but big and evil, or Ant-Man,
Russian,
but big and evil.
I'm Ant-Man corporate.
I think this is the first time in which we have seen that mirror reflection work to the advantage of a story rather than just feeling cliche, because Natasha and Taskmaster have a lot of parallels in the way that they were mistreated as young girls, and their agency and their bodies were taken away from them, like especially since it really seems that Taskmaster has been a mindless but conscious slave to her father's tactics and everything. And they even fight in the exact same style early on in the movie, mimicking each other's movements. And to me, it's very interesting, and I think it's well done that their conflict ends not through just like, I pushed her into the quantum zone, or I blew her up, but it ends with like an act of mercy, and it ends with
several acts of mercy.
Yeah, it ends with a request for forgiveness and everything, of like this guilt that's been haunting a character for a long time. And I think get out of here, Hamilton. Get out of here. Go back to 2015 before Twitter had discourse about
I didn't like you then. I don't like you now.
I thought you were good. I still think you're pretty good, but go away.
I don't and never did. Still firing from the
Anyways.
hip.
Get out of here, Lin-Manuel.
I think that's something that actually like kind of more subtly plays into that feminist theming of it, in that it's not that often that you would see a male buff fist superhero like reach out to a supervillain and just be like, hey, I fucked up, you and I are similarly fucked up, maybe we can be less fucked up.
Megamind.
Yeah, exactly. To subvert just, well, we gotta have the final giant dooper duper dur.
The duper duper dur.
Or even when you do, right? Because the only real parallel to that in modern superhero stuff is the relationship between Thor and Loki. But at the end of the day, Loki always betrays him. So it's like, there's no like, can you forgive me? Yes, right? Or can you forgive me? I will move on from this, in like typical stuff.
You really are the worst, brother.
To have that moment with Black Widow and Taskmaster, to just be like, we have both been violated. We have both had our choices stripped away from us. We don't have to fight because we can subvert and we can rise up against the people that want to control us. That's a moment that I think kind of sets this movie apart. Like, even though it is flawed in the back half of it, and there's still a bunch of, you know, Marvelness to it that gets annoying, I think that there's elements of this that are unique as an action-oriented film that you don't often get to see.
Yeah.
So basically, Captain Marvel, you know, it could not have a lady in the starring role, but Black Widow, you gotta, just because that's the story that's being told.
TLDR, I think we all could kind of equivocally agree Black Widow's the stronger movie between the two. So now, there's still one Femme Fatale movie we haven't been able to touch on yet.
Elektra?
No. Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. So be looking for that episode in your podcast feeds when we put all the pretty superhero ladies in a pit and make them fight each other for amusement.
Because that's what feminism is all about, making all the women
Yeah.
compare to each
That's
other.
what it's all about.
Thanks for coming. Peace.
The Liberal Artists Podcast premieres every other Thursday on your favourite podcasting platform. The show is hosted by Bodio, Kaylie Horowitz, and Andy Gibson. You can find the show at LibArtistsPod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to Whitehot for performing the theme song Reflect, which can be found on freebeats.io. Now, I'm off to go exploring, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find a sheep that I can call my own. Good day.
Sponsored by Come and Go.
Damn. Got him. Not a sponsor.
No,
we swear.
not a sponsor.
Pay us, Mr. Sheely.
Pay us, Mr. Go, or should I talk to your business associate instead?
Don't stop. No, absolutely not. We're done.